the presses, everybody, this time. We just did a little meeting, my friend and I here, about Reddit karma.
Hey,
and
what's up?
Apparently he's got 0.3K, or 300 for you plebeians who don't know numbers.
Okay.
He's got 0.3K more karma than I do.
Yeah,
And I don't think that's
special.
fair. This is a give and take relationship here, and you've got 0.3 more karma than me. I'm going to need you to hand over exactly 1.5 of that.
Well, you're going to have to make some good comments, man.
Where do you go? What is your top comment?
My
Can you show me?
top comment? Can you see?
Yeah, what is your top
you
comment?
Yeah, you can't see top comments.
What is your top comment?
Okay, here it is. This is from 6 years ago.
Oh my
right.
God.
So there's a post that said on Ask Reddit, said guys of Reddit, and I'm a guy of Reddit, what has caused you to cry? And I replied, and I said, the finale of Scrubs crushed me, end quote.
That is so you
And
that I'm actually upset.
It got 325 upvotes.
So my top comment beats that by just a little bit.
Okay, all right. I mean,
Just
it's
a little
whatever,
bit.
you know. But I have more overall. That's what matters.
Okay, I'll just make some more comments. It's fine. My top comment is on a post titled, "Is JoJo legitimately worth watching, or is it just a meme?" And let me go to the thread. I need to view the thread that my
Both
comment
of our
is a
top
part
comments
of.
are very yes.
Yeah. When I saw what mine was, I was like, oh shit, I can't say anything. So the comment that is originating in this thread here is by B-Ball Hunter. It's actually a great show. Memes are a bonus, a very dank bonus. Another response by Chaotic View. I think it's a meme because so many moments are so memeable, like JoJo Part 4.
So this is before you watched it, yeah?
No, this is after I've watched it.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to convince people. So this guy says, like JoJo Part 4, like in, I'm going to not spoil it, like how the final villain does this thing. And my comment is about how the final villain does a certain thing to Mona Lisa's hands. And I have 341 points for that.
341.
341.
Okay, my second one is a little more applicable to stuff we talk about on here, though. It says it's on the Twitch Reddit. And someone asked, do you talk on stream even if you have no one watching? And I replied, considering I hide the viewer count, yes. Just ramble and talk about the game and what's going on constantly. Voice your inner monologue, and you always have something to fill the dead air.
You've always got somebody watching. I'm always watching you.
Oh, thanks, man. It's kind of creepy, though.
All my other top comments are not as applicable to my existence as that first one is. What is this one?
Shame.
My first legendary card?
Do you have any D&D ones?
Overwatch, crappy design, old people Facebook, The Division. Oh man, that was from
I don't have
forever
any
ago.
D&D ones.
I don't.
Oh, no, here's one. It's only got 20 upvotes, though. That's a little scroll down.
Let me see. Yeah, I don't think I have anything. And then Destiny the game, anime, /Nier. Yeah, I don't think so. But my top posts.
Oh, now we're getting spicy.
Have you made a post?
Yeah, I got so many posts.
How many points did your top post make?
222.
How many?
222.
That's it?
Excuse me?
You don't know how much mine has?
I got 4.3 thousand karma, man.
You know how much? You want to know how much mine has? My top post?
Well, you know, since you're underneath me, I don't really care, but sure, I'll hear.
1.7 thousand.
You must not make many posts then.
Yeah,
like,
probably not. See, I've got a higher quality profile than you do.
I don't know about that, man. In the
Mine was,
communities I'm a part of, everyone knows who I am, right?
Well, okay, 4 years ago during the beta of The Division, okay?
Oh, no.
I made a post because everybody was shitting on LMGs saying they suck. And I'm like, please hear me out, guys. LMGs don't suck. And I got 1.7K upvotes.
Wait. That was your whole post?
No, it was a little more long-winded, but to prevent myself from getting... You could probably find this post and then find me. So if you guys want to know my Reddit account, it's not like it doesn't have my name on it.
That'd be hilarious, though. That's literally all you had said.
Yeah.
Did you play much of The Division?
Oh, yeah.
I played the beta, and that was it.
Oh, man. So you were one of the people I was talking to.
Well, I didn't really have any judgments on it.
Oh, man. My other posts are all
didn't
anime.
buy it.
So just like on Reddit, where I have a different persona of myself, where I'm super cool, we also here at the Dungeon Crawl have games that we play, where we are other characters. But in the case of this podcast...
See, I was thinking the segue would have been how we were talking about The Division. That's a video game. Speaking of video games...
And listen, Ryan, he's bad at transition, Ryan.
I don't know. I think he was a little tough of a segue.
We forgot last time. Do this with me.
Yeah, tough of a segue, Braxton. That's your...
Oh. Okay, and this is the Dungeon Crawl. Today, we venture into a topic that I almost bring into every single episode that we do. Video games and how they relate to D&D, but more specifically, Baldur's Gate 3, because that spicy little early access has been released. Prefacing, it is a cool $60. You are buying the game.
Yeah.
So when it gets fully released, that is the price tag you are
You're buying a beta
for.
Right now.
You're buying a beta. But the game will eventually be released, and you don't have to pay again unless there's a
Yeah, they're planning on having it done in a year, is what they say.
Like, man, maybe.
What is Baldur's Gate 3 for those of you that
Baldur's
don't know?
Gate 3. So the developers at Larian Studios, they have made some other games known as Divinity Original Sin series, and that's the only game by them I've played. I don't know what else they've made. Right?
That's all they've done. Yeah, they've done the other Divinity games, and that's it. Period. Yeah.
Okay, well, it shows because
on
Baldur's Gate 3 basically is Divinity Original Sin 2, but with Baldur's Gate over it and some D&D rules put into it.
And considering as the name says, Baldur's Gate 3, there are two other Baldur's Gates made by another studio that came out in the late 90s.
How did that even happen? What was that business meeting? This IP from a different studio.
Well, apparently Larian originally came to them a long time ago and was like, hey, we love Baldur's Gate, we love D&D, can we make a game for you guys? And they said no. So they went and made Divinity Original Sin and Original Sin 2, and then they came back later and was like, please let us. And they're like, okay, you got a cool background now. Yeah, sure, come on in.
You are the cool guys now. Welcome to the table. The tabletop RPG table.
But if you're a fan of the old Baldur's Gates, this is very different.
It's very, very different. So the old Baldur's Gates were action RPGs, right? Real time?
Yeah, real time, top down. I guess the camera was probably very similar to what you would see in the Baldur's. I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, but I would imagine it's very similar. But yeah, there was lots of role playing, lots of story. The story was very good. The action, obviously, it emulates the original editions of D&D very, very well. So if you were to play it now, it might be a little dated to what you know from D&D, but the story's great and the overall gameplay. It's a little, different than D&D because it is not turn-based, but it is quote unquote still turn-based, as there is, you don't just attack each sec. It almost emulates how combat would be in D&D if it wasn't turn-based. Because, each round is 6 seconds.
Right. So you did play 1 and 2?
Yeah, it's been a long time, but yeah.
It's been a long time. Did you enjoy the experience?
I did. I'd probably enjoy it more now since I enjoy more narrative-focused stuff.
That's very true. So what I want to do today on this old podcast...
You can get them both for $20, by the way, guys.
Oh,
the originals.
That's like a third of the price. I'm doing a lot of math today. I don't like this. So before we go to Baldur's Gate 3, I'm sure there's plenty of you that are waiting to touch the game like one of our good friends is in our D&D group. She will not play the game at all, and I had to be very careful about what I was mentioning while we had our D&D session 2 days ago. So let's avoid going into Baldur's Gate 3 spoiler territory for just a bit as we talk more about the first games, because I want to get an idea, if you remember, like what character creation was like.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's point buy. There's also a roll, like you roll your stats. And it's basically like how you make a character. You roll a bunch of die. You can pick which one goes for which stat. I believe that was in at least in Icewind Dale. There's another game that was made by the same developer, Beamdog. They made Baldur's Gate 1, 2, and Icewind Dale. And I feel like they probably made another one as well. But those are the main 3 that I know. And at least in Icewind Dale, the character creation, you roll your stats, you put them in, and like I said, it's very accurate depiction to the old editions of D&D. I want to say it's either first or second edition that they show.
So,
and obviously it takes place in the Forgotten Realms, Baldur's Gate City.
Nice. So for me, I'm curious, and maybe you don't remember as much now. I tried to read up a bit on it to see how big of a departure the first 2 Baldur's Gates were to the edition that they were based off of. but I couldn't.
Considering I
find
never
too much
played
concrete.
those editions,
Yeah.
I'm not entirely positive. I'm going to be honest with you.
All right.
And the only understanding of those editions I have is just want to go back and read up on the lore and stuff they have for the old stuff.
There's a bunch of
So
good
I don't know
stuff.
exactly how to play those.
Okay. So the only reference I've really gotten is, at least while I was looking on Reddit and doing some research too, is that people seem to feel that Baldur's Gate 3 is not, and this is almost quote a title that was on a Reddit post, it's not as far of a departure from 5th edition as the first few games were from 2nd edition. And I was like, okay, all right. So you say there's point buy and whatnot, and my thing for video games and concrete decisions is that you very much have the ability to just redo stuff.
Yeah, you'd
versus like a pen and paper thing. I've written those numbers down on my paper, man. Ryan will slap my hand if I try to change something. He will slap it. So whenever I'm in a game like Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, if I were to play these now and I did the roll, like, or I probably wouldn't even do the roll for my stats.
You could re-roll.
Yeah, but it's just like, I guess it's just a cool factor. Did they have dice rolls in that game? Or I guess it was live.
Yeah, I mean,
so.
they're hidden kind of in the background or in the little combat log, like the bottom right area.
Okay. So I guess at that point, that pretty much covers most of what you and I collectively know about the first two games. We can start moving into a comparison realm.
Yeah, at least kind of gameplay-wise.
Gameplay-wise. Like, for me, to give you an idea of how much Ryan and I have played, Ryan has not played any at all. Have you watched anything?
I've seen about 3 to 5 minutes of the character creation.
3 to 5 minutes of the character creation.
And I saw a section where people pet a dog.
Necessary. Glad they did.
Yeah.
The game would be bust if you could not pet a dog. So, for me, my experience with it was buying it, and I don't know if I'm over the 2-hour limit for the Steam refund. That was my goal. I'm 5 minutes underneath it.
Actually, now, do you think did you buy it, just off the D&D title of it, or did you go into it, knowing it's Larian and you love Divinity and you wanted to pick it up regardless?
There's a couple of things. Larian, I love Divinity, but always first and foremost, I just like character creators.
Right.
If a game has a decent character creator in it, I will probably buy it, try it, refund it, or keep it.
Like Black Desert?
Like Black Desert. I have spent a good many hours making characters in that game, but I have barely actually played the game.
You can download just the character creator for free
Really?
somewhere.
Well, that's awesome. I might do that.
Yeah, that might just be something fun for you to do in your free time.
I might do that. See, at Baldur's Gate, I was really interested to see if I could make my character in D&D that I play. But before we get to that point, I played barely into, and again, we're going to get kind of into early spoilers of this early access. And here we go. I didn't quite get out of the Mind Flayer ship. I did meet Intellect Devour. I crushed it originally. Yeah, there's a couple of things.
Oh, that's what they showed in the, or maybe not that specific section, but Intellect Devour is what they showed in their early gameplay, I believe. They
did indeed. So I barely got anywhere. I met
Are they as nasty as they are in 5th edition?
Things seem less deadly in this game.
I almost want to fail an encounter with those guys and see if they consume your brain or something.
Can I spoil an encounter for you?
Sure, it's like the first
5 minutes of the game. Yeah. So you walk forward in this crashed ship. I forget what they're called, the Mind Flayer ships. Big tentacly. You probably seen the trailer.
Right?
There you go. Nautiloid. So you're on this, everything's burning, crashing down, and you come into another room and you hear, like, we're here, over here. It's like, okay, this is very typical D&D. Hear noises in my brain. What the hell's going on? You walk around, you can find an apparatus.
Yeah, your character's very used to that.
Yeah. And you can press a button to take you up on this little weird fleshy elevator. Gross. And there's a guy with his scalp, just sawed off, circular, like his brain is exposed. And the voices are coming from him. And you go there and you do,
cool.
I don't know if it's an Arcana check. I think you have some checks you can make. But my character was able to deduce that the brain itself was a bit swollen in the frontal lobe. And upon further inspection with my arcane knowledge, etc., I identified this thing as an intellect devourer. To which my character... Yeah, go ahead.
Are the checks done in like a dialogue box? Or can you like right-click on it and do checks?
You see the dialogue box. It's like Divinity, where you would see something in your like difficulty to succeed on it, etc.
Like a Fallout or like typical RPG stuff.
Yes, and then you click on that itself, and a die rolls up on the screen.
Oh,
and
cool! They actually show you the dice roll.
Yeah, it's a little circle, and it bounces around inside of it. Tells you the number you need to meet. We'll come back to that later because that's a big part of.
See, that's my issue with Pathfinder. Kingmaker is the dice rolls are made, but only if you're looking in the bottom right corner do you see. So either just like you click on to try to attempt something, and it just says, just either happens or it doesn't. It doesn't show you actually your roll until you look down below.
I mean, you think that most video games do these things behind the scenes because user experience. They don't want you to spend time waiting for.
And all these RPGs are almost all based on the old D&D stuff. So even if you don't see dice rolls, odds are there are. I mean, there's RNG. There's stuff going on in the background. If you want to hit a guy in Skyrim, you got to technically hit his armor class.
It's true. But for these remakes, and in this specific situation, it's almost anti-user experience implementing tabletop I guess, traditions into a video game.
But everyone's coming into it with that in mind.
Everybody wants that. I think it's just a unique thing. It's really cool to me. And in this case, my character makes kind of a grimace because Mind Flare minions, little, what's it called? Intellect Devours. Mm-hmm. And my judge is that, okay, my character seems to be disgusted by that fact. I'm going to role play, which maybe is a bad thing that my character kind of influenced my choice by what Larian animated on the face. So I received options to crush the brain, help it out, like pull it out, or just leave it. And with my knowledge in Ryan's game, Intellect Devours are not a thing you want to mess with. Probably.
No.
So I either metagamed or roleplayed based off of what my character seemed to be responding to, and put my hands inside of this man's open, warm brain and crushed it in my hands, to which a squelch came out. And my guy looked pretty confident and was like, yeah, and I walked off. So there's a couple things I want to dissect. I found out later, if you help it out, you get a freaking Intellect Devourer companion. For some reason, it is not.
What?
It is not bad against you. It doesn't hurt you.
Okay,
like, he fights
I hope they
with you.
Explain why that is.
They probably do. It didn't do the option because, to me, I don't want to take the chance. But what I liked is, usually in games, when you make a choice, the game, no matter how hard it may try, clearly telegraphs to you which choice was correct and which one is incorrect. And you almost immediately feel the repercussions if you pick the bad option, right? And a lot of time, you almost always know, okay, I kind of wish I went with the other option. You can glean a lot of information. In this case, my character, I crushed this brain. It seemed great, and there was no hint that it would have been a companion until I went on.
There's some games that are very railroady where you make a decision and then, like the Telltale games are very often regarded as the games that give you the illusion of choice.
Yeah, there
is. You make
a
decision and you feel like you influenced it, and then you play the game again and you make the opposite decision, and you basically get the exact same result.
Yeah. I'm sure there's going to be some of that in this game, but they are quoting themselves as making
Divinity was
most...
really good about not having much of that.
Yeah, I mean, the game still kind of ends in the same place.
You get to the same location, but you can do it in various different ways.
Yeah, the Divinity
from
still.
Fort Joy, I still haven't left Fort Joy.
Really? I mean, I've played it for over 500 something hours, and
Julie and I are still working through it right now.
Well, that's good, as long as you're playing it. I mean, Divinity really is just D&D light, like very light, simplified video game version of it. And
it's
Baldur's
like how Blizzard wanted to make a. I'm thinking of Blizzard, right?
Riot or Blizzard? One of the two.
You keep talking. I'm gonna think about it real quick.
Okay. While you're thinking about that, so for not Divinity, Baldur's Gate 3, Baldur's Divinity Original Gate 3.
Oh wait, do you want me to finish what you're saying?
Good.
Okay, so it's like how Blizzard wanted to make a Warhammer games, but they couldn't get the license, so they made Warcraft instead. It's similar ideas, but tweaked to be their own thing.
I always thought it was so silly they just named it Warcraft based off of World of Warcraft.
Yeah,
if I'm correct in that. But for
wait, say that again.
No, we're moving on.
No,
no.
Hang on, I think you're wrong.
What do you mean? I want to see Warcraft not the World of Warcraft as well?
Well, Warcraft was made first, and then World of Warcraft was made after.
Okay, so it's just backwards, but they are connected.
Definitely,
Okay.
100%.
I've been done an educate. But talking about the roleplay for Baldur's Gate 3, from what I experienced, it maintains the facilities of Divinity Original Sin 2,
Right.
and assumedly the first one as well.
Is it voice acted?
Your character is not,
Okay.
from what I can tell, but if you play as... or there may be instances. I haven't played a ton of it. There may be instances where your character
It's also
speaks.
still very early. Divinity didn't have it when they first launched.
Yeah. Especially if you play an origin character, I'm almost certain that they will speak during certain options.
Right.
So for roleplay, in this case, you have several options in dialogue. Some will tell you you need to make a save. What I appreciate that they took away is the probability, or like how, like the redness of it. And I guess the die kind of shows that as well, but it's you see the roll and it's a bit more tangible, and you pick those stats. It's not just like based off of the single charisma stat you've created. There's a lot more that goes into it. So what I don't think works well in this case, and I want to get your thoughts on it as well, D&D is a very, if you have a party, it's a very group effort endeavor.
Yeah.
Right? So in Divinity Original Sin 2, there was this issue of your character, whoever was talking to an NPC, you use their stats for that. If you're walking around and your friend who has like no charisma or whatever the stat it is for that game talks to the big bad boss, and there's a save that says you need to have a certain amount of persuasion to convince.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's organic. Maybe that's how it would have happened, but everybody wants to play the game. And it would kind of
makes
suck.
You feel like I wish the other guy had walked in front of me.
Mm-hmm. Versus D&D, your friend, if you're playing in an RPG, tabletop, theater of the mind, whatever you're doing, your friends are all there. They're in the conversation, and they can stop you or try to stop your bumbling mouth from ruining the entire exchange.
Yeah, I never liked how in Divinity, even if you're playing with someone, they can join the conversation. It's more like they're hearing it. They never get an option to say anything.
You press the ear button. And this is very much the same in Baldur's Gate 3. Now, I don't have a solution to this. I don't know how you could make an organic dialogue system that allows people to join in and make it seem like a true multi-person conversation rather than them just popping in and making the dialogue option click before you can. What are your thoughts? Is there a way to fix that at all?
I feel like Divinity 2 did it a little bit better whenever it's a group conversation, like your whole party's talking. Because you're playing with a buddy, then they get an option at some point to also say something. Unfortunately, those conversations never mean anything. Everyone says almost the exact same thing. It's really just, I guess, a way to see how your other party members are feeling about the current situation.
Yeah, it's a reflection.
Yeah, basically. Divinity 1 did it terribly. I don't know if you remember when we played that together, how if we have a conversation, disagree on something, then it's just rock, paper, scissors, and that's it.
I mean, at least they tried, though.
It's just garbage, though.
Yeah, it is garbage. So, in this case, if you've got a bunch of multifaceted, really cool characters, and you're talking to somebody that's deeply involved in their background, I'm sure maybe it's a scripted event, and they'll chat it up, but during your normal side quests and whatnot, you may want to think about who you're walking around primarily as and who's clicking on NPCs.
Right. Now, like Pathfinder Kingmaker, it uses the highest stat of the person for the applicable role.
Okay.
Obviously, that runs into its own issues where it's just there's no downside ever.
Mm-hmm. Unless I don't know if there is. Dead.
Yeah, I don't know if there is just a straight up right way to do it. At least I don't know. I'm not a developer. I don't know how to do it.
In the scope of video game, unless they made some revolutionary system that makes the development of organic fluid conversation, I don't think there is a solution. There's a few games that have voice recognition in it, but even then would take an immense amount of either programming or an artificial intelligence that has a pool which represents the script of the game or intentions, just like a DM would have for their character. I was talking to Ryan the other day because I was about to come into my session again with my group who hasn't met in a while. And I noticed Ryan in our previous game, and again, this isn't a live play, this is just the games we have on our own. This character we've been interacting in this prison with had a lot of opinions, and you can clearly see a lot of the time when Ryan has characters, they're very goal-oriented, and you can see their personality, what they're thinking, what they're wanting to do. And I asked him, do you prep your dialogue or things that your character says, or do you just kind of leave it up to motivation? And I'll let him answer that himself if he wants to on the podcast today for your ears.
Yeah, well, I just said I told Braxton I do kind of a mixture of the two. I will definitely I like doing this. I did this back when I did film, and the actors would ask me, what was this character thinking, stuff. Just they couldn't tell off, like a very short script. So I would write down lines that they're maybe thinking in their head, or the way that they would talk and their cadence and stuff. I do that now for NPCs, where I'll write down just like 5 lines or so of things they may or may not even say in conversation, but just so I can get in their head. And even also helps me with accents, remembering which accent I did for, because I write it, phonetically. And then I will write down like bulleted lists of what their motivations are, what their goals are, what they want, and some of the stuff that they know in relating to obviously what I'm fairly certain the players probably want to know. And then from that, I can obviously extrapolate. I do this only for like major NPCs.
Yeah. So that system, that way of thinking is present in a video game, albeit it's in a series of ones and zeros or yes and no's. Does the player have this item? Have they done this? It's very strict. It's not organic, which again, until video games start using AI as NPC for dialogue and thought, I don't think we'll see an advancement.
I can see it happening at some point in our
lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
But it's going to be janky at first as AI have to learn, just as little baby children have to.
Experiments. Like, I don't know if you remember the game, I think it's just called Facade. And it was this very minimal game, but it allowed you to type whatever you wanted. And you're talking between, it's a couple that you're meeting that are having issues. And you are a friend that came over. And you can type in literally anything, and they respond to it in real time. And it was very interesting and very revolutionary. And I haven't really seen many other games do this. This came out in 2005. I feel like it was newer than that, but I guess not. But it was definitely kind of beginnings of AI in video game.
There's somebody out there that's working on it still, especially since that's been going on since that year.
Yeah, just two guys made that.
Okay, so there's issues with bringing organic tabletop to video game. The fact that a player controls their experience, and over that, a developer controls the player and the world's movement and experience as well. So really, I don't think there's a solution to this dialogue issue. We haven't played the entire game, but it plays out almost identically to Divinity Original Sin 2. And that's the next thing that I want to go into before I dive into departures from 5e, because that's a hot topic for this as well. Baldur's Gate 3 is based off of 5e. Which
Does it have like all the classes and stuff in it? Like Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, et cetera, et cetera?
Every class you could want to play in 5e that is from the Player's Handbook, Xanathar's Guide, and some other expansions, they're in there. But
really, I assume they don't have all the subclasses, though, yeah?
No. Early access only has a few classes, just the basic ones. And I could rattle off a list, but it's the most popular options that you would probably pick for your class. Again, for the Warlock, has the Fiend, the Great Old One. And there's a couple of domains for the Cleric, as well as Fighter, different styles as well. Apparently, they messed up the Rogue, and playing one kind of sucks.
Are they planning on putting all of them in? Do you know all the subclasses?
All of them will be in, and I think there are 30 something subclasses. It could be 23 or 33.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's going to be a
backgrounds as well are in there, I assume?
The basic backgrounds that you would find in the Player's Handbook, like Acolyte, Sage, etc., all of those are in there.
Cool, man.
And those give you stat boosts. And yeah, I guess we can talk about the character creator right now, because that is the first thing you interact with, truly. So for the character creator, they have foregone, and I guess foregone may be the wrong word because it was this way in Divinity as well, but they do not have sliders, okay? So everybody knows those memes that show up on the interwebs where people make an insane-looking NPC with the eyes floating off of the head, a Monster Factory.
Like Dark Souls, just turning the sliders to left or right.
Yeah, so they don't have that. They instead had a rig of cameras in a sphere around actors or models' heads, and they took 3D scans of them in all directions and put them into the game. They're I believe there's 150 heads currently in the game. Now, it doesn't feel like that because across all of the races that you've got, and those are all of the base races in D&D, in addition to the Drow and Githyanki.
Okay. So all the ones in the player's handbook?
Yes.
But none of the extras like Tabaxi and Kokora?
No. I don't know if they'll add them.
They have half elves, half orcs?
They do. You can decide to be a half drow, half elf. I don't think orcs are in there. Be a half elf, half orc, any mixture of that as well, except tiefling, which kind of is half devil, half human already. And then within like elves, there's different, I guess, nationalities. I don't know. Like for drow, you can be the one that directly worship. Is it Saloon?
You talking about the drow or Lolth?
Lolth, one of the two. So you can pick different types of people as well.
Inside.
Again, the one that I have the most experience with is the tieflings, of course.
So the elves have like high elf and that kind of thing?
Basically.
What elf?
Like for tiefling, they've got Asmodeus tiefling, or you've got Mephistopheles tiefling, and they all have different skin tones and colors that I say are recommended. They have an option above the limited preview of skin tones you can go with that unlocks it. So for your tiefling, where it would have a lot of reds and blues, you can unlock that and give them a more human skin tone.
Which is interesting to me, though, because the player's handbook doesn't mention anything about your, heritage, your infernal heritage, like Mephistopheles or Levistus.
That's a pretty new thing. It's a variant option that's shown up in some materials, or whatever you call those things that come out for D&D, with information in them. So it kind of sucks because despite having 150 faces, they're spread and locked to races. So tieflings have a different set of heads, maybe one or two matches than the humans or the drow will have.
The modding scene, though, will be pretty crazy for this game.
I'm interested to see what they do, because the more advanced a game gets, the harder it is to mod, because they almost have to match the level.
Well, I was even thinking, too, how like Total War has a huge modding scene. And they don't, they do still for like the Warhammer game. But because it's a licensed title, they can't give out the full modding tools for it. So you can't like mess with the map and whatnot, or change the monsters and add a whole new faction, etc. So I'm curious if Wizards of the Coast will get behind having full mod tools for this game.
That is a topic we should talk about next. But finishing up thoughts on the character creator, so they've freed up some of the options here. You can even have a feminine voice for your male-presenting character if you would like. But the problem there is, though they've got that opportunity, for the example that I've gone through the most, the tieflings, all of their heads and faces are chiseled out of the Greek statues.
Yeah, you're telling me
of like
that.
Gods. They are large, like really large heads with furrowed eyebrows, with a bunch of definition, veins on their face, intense jaws, huge noses, intense eyes, and you can't really, like, as our friend Kenneth put it, you can't make a soft boy. They're all chonky.
For any race?
I only went through tieflings, but Kenneth, who went through more of them, still feels that way.
Really? I imagine elves should.
Still, just like generally, you see a person on the side of the road, and you can like they have a large head. Like if you put your hands on this person's head, they would be like half the size.
Like
all of the men's heads are like that.
Like a Joe Rogan kind of
head. Just like massive, just a little more attractive than Joe Rogan. Sorry, Joe.
Oh my God, called him out on the podcast.
But in terms of character creating, you're able to again pick your background, which gives you proficiencies or highlights what your proficiencies might be.
You get to choose, because subclasses, you get to pick two of these to be proficient, and do you get that option?
You do.
Okay, that's cool.
It seems a bit more limited because there's some materials or sources out there that allow you to fiddle with that and pick different things. But for my great old one, Mephistopheles Warlock, I was able to pick a lot of performance-based stuff. So I was like persuasion, intimidation.
Do you get to pick your pact boon?
Pact boon's at level 3. So I will let you know when I get to that point if I play. I'm going to be holding off.
So I'm curious to see how, because you've played that exact Warlock in-game before. I'm curious to see how similar it feels in combat and stuff.
Yeah. I know you'll be able to do Hexblade, but I don't want to just be serving the Raven Queen.
Oh, that's the only option?
I'm assuming it's not in the game yet. You can only pick between the Fiend or the Great Old One, which rather than subclasses, though,
that's true. We kind of made a hybrid of a class for the Gar game. I forgot about that.
So in the Warlock's case, those two feel less like a subclass and more just like a flavoring. That was a big problem with the early Warlock subclasses.
Do you pick alignments?
No, alignments are gone. Gone also is the preview to be able to tell how your character is going to level up.
So the old Baldur's Gate, you did pick alignment, same with Icewind Dale.
Yeah. I guess they want you to role play the alignment and be more flexible in that case.
Something
that's got people riled
Pathfinder,
up.
I think it would be cool actually if they did have alignment, because Pathfinder, the way they handle alignment in the Pathfinder Kingmaker game is you choose one from the start, and depending on your actions, unfortunately though, it does say, what type of action, then like Mass Effect, good or bad. It does tell you what type of action this is, lawful good or chaotic evil, whatever. And if you pick that, it's like a slider where it slowly takes your circle from lawful good over a tiny bit, depending on whatever action you choose. And obviously, if you make enough, then your alignment will change.
Yeah, I mean, for the same reasons, I don't like it as much in D&D itself. I don't think it would be a good decision for this game. I prefer it just happening in the background with each individual character's view on me, because what one character views somebody as chaotic evil might see you as lawful good, honestly, just based on your interaction. So for the character creator, you do get to pick from what's this, spell table, basically. You have some spells that you can work with.
Are there,
of course,
all the spells in the world? I would assume probably not at this point.
Not all of them at this point, but there's a wide variety. Again, for the Warlock, Eldritch Blast is there, Armor of Agathis is there. There's some charm spells as well as Blade Ward, a bunch of other stuff that go with 5e and what is available in those spell slots. You can pick them.
Probably kind of like chose the top for whatever class.
It does seem
right
that
now.
way. Yeah. Some of the spells have been altered, though. Certain ones do less damage or more damage. Another hot topic right now that I hope they remove is a lot of spells now add surface effects. And the surface effect
like
is...
Divinity.
Yes, very much like Divinity. If you remember playing Divinity, is all about lighting surfaces
if you have
and causing
fight
explosions.
without fire, I'm not sure you're actually playing Divinity.
Right. And if your frames aren't dropping because there's curse fire on your screen, which they've now fixed, but before it would tank your game.
Nice.
So people are a little upset because certain spells, maybe cantrips or whatnot, that seemingly weren't super strong before, can now cast a persisting, damaging floor effect that you have to get out of. And it just changes the entire game. It makes it a game about fighting surfaces rather than slinging spells,
Yeah.
So that's a big problem with it.
I could see they probably want to add something to make combat more interesting, because they're probably running into the players care. I mean, because they don't have the option to role play out these fight. Once you start the fight, you've probably in the fight.
It's a fight, yeah.
Yeah, so they're probably running into the combat conundrum that we've talked about in our previous episodes. That combat can be boring in D&D.
There might be dialogue checks during combat itself, but that slingshots into another issue, Ryan, is that there's no XP rewarded for skirting around a fight with the use of fanciful words.
See, that's some of the issue with XP. Not everyone, because the problem is a lot of people won't even give XP in D&D for roleplay stuff, but you gotta remember to do it for everything, or else people are just gonna turn into murder hobos.
Yeah, so it's really weird because Divinity Original Sin 2, and I think the first one as well, did reward XP. So they removed it. Or forgot to add it. One of the two.
Can you kill anybody?
Yeah, I think so.
There's no, quote unquote, good NPC you can't fight?
I haven't tried. So it's something that the viewers out there, if they've got the thing, if you're playing the game right now, you're looking at the nice Githyanki person over there, that nice fighter, give her a little poke. See what happens.
Now, feats? Are feats in there?
Feats, I did not see any, but you
won't
don't get any at
know
level
until
1.
Yeah, until you hit a certain level, but I'm curious.
Well, that's the thing that we keep coming back to, is you're asking questions about what you'll get in the future. D&D, you see how your stats are going to grow with your class. You know what you're getting at what level, and you can plan accordingly. But much like in most video games, new ones at least, there is no skill tree here. There is no table of progression for your character.
Yeah,
a lot of people are
pull
upset.
out a player's handbook.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a problem because this is a familiar system that we're working with, slightly altered. So we want to know what to expect. If I'm playing a Warlock and they don't get half the cool stuff that I want to play a Warlock for, God forbid, maybe I want to play something else, which would be blasphemy, but maybe.
I think that brings in the question, do we, as people that love D&D, do we want a D&D game? Do I want a one-to-one like retelling of D&D in my video game?
I want the sandbox. That's what I'm most hopeful for this game. And by that, I mean Divinity Original Sin 2 had a GM mode, a game master mode that you can place assets. Yeah, I'm curious if they're going to
make that.
There's no way they don't. And if they do, if they make it sandboxy, you can make terrain, you can buy Icewind Dale and play it in this thing.
Yeah, the GM mode was a little cumbersome, wasn't it?
It was a little cumbersome, but you could run a game in it. It was limited by Divinity Original Sin 2's character progression, XP. Ooh. Items were a little boring in Divinity Original Sin 2.
You made a good point there, man.
Mm-hmm.
Making modules in that, making a whole recreate Icewind Dale, or hell, if they made it themselves and released it,
I'm sure they would release it. But what I'm most excited is not the actual campaign they're making now, but like you said, the modding community or the potential for DLC to this. This could be currently the ultimate way to play D&D with the maximum amount of visual representation.
Yeah.
Now, you could maybe add voice acting into the game, but as a DM, you can type dialogue into it. This could be your way to play D&D for those of you that just can't do theater of the mind. That's my thing. That's what I'm most excited about for it. So
interesting.
We'll see what happens. I'm sure they'll announce a GM mode, and it may come out at a later point if they're making it super robust. But in terms of mechanics, ways that it differs slightly from 5e as well, some of the spells are altered in terms of damage and effects. Like I mentioned, you do now have several actions you can do as a bonus, like push, shove, jump is now a bonus action. And dip your weapon into poison, and there's a bunch of other stuff you can do there. Eldritch Blast, I will say that having the what's the one that makes it forceful? There's a Eldritch invocation you can get that makes it push people, and it's even more hilarious in this because you can see them and you can control the battlefield.
Oh, did they have all the invocations?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I do know that. Something else I didn't quite like is that during combat, rather than the squares, and maybe this makes it a bit more freeform, it borrows the Divinity Original Sin distance-based movement just in a line. So that's still there, which probably works better, makes them have more freedom for the environments they create. But
I do
when
like
you're
squares, though.
I do like squares. When you're going to attack somebody, it does not show you your dice roll. It just shows you a percentage.
Yeah, how does combat feel?
I don't like it at all. It feels like Divinity with more restrictions. Now, they removed the AP that most people really disliked, the refreshing system of using a point, and then the next turn you get more, and different actions have different points. Now you have spell slots.
Points and stuff. Yeah, spell slots, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we talked about spell slots before with Kenneth. How do you feel about them?
I don't mind them. I understand the, it's to limit the amount, kind of put a cap on when you need to rest and when you need to take care of yourself, and make combat more tense if you have less than you're used to, or it's the final part of a dungeon and you gotta whip out all your stops and really think about tacticalness. So I like them.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, it maintains that system in 5e, and in combat, you use your one or two spells as a warlock and they're gone, and it feels kind of sad. You can't do rests at any moment. It takes you to a camp. And I'm not sure of the repercussions. Time does go by, but you usually can get your rest if you're in a fairly safe spot. But during combat,
between short or long.
Yes, you can. So that's also very much like Dragon Age, where you can sit around a campfire and talk to your friends. People are really, really comparing it to Dragon Age in that aspect. So during combat, and even outside in the design of the game, they really wanted to show you your rolls, right? They want to show you the dice. Now, for some reason, they decide to go with the user experience here and make it smooth. They show you the percentage, very similar to how they do in Divinity Original Sin 2, of your attack that it's going to hit. There is no dice roll. I mean, it happens behind the scenes, but you don't...
Can you see it if you want to, like in the combat log or something?
Nope.
Weird.
Well, I don't know why they
would do it. Yeah, why they do it for checks, but not for this.
Yeah. And it would be super simple. Maybe do it in that one game that you were talking about, where it's in the bottom right corner. It happens super quick. Something else I really dislike, what they've done with rolls. We know what our additions to our dexterity, our strength is. We know what's going to be added to our attack modifier and our attack roll as well. But they've made it to where dice rolls are simplified. When you roll a die, all you need to get is a number within 1 to 20. So they've subtracted and removed, and they're doing all the math behind the scenes. So if in this case you needed to meet, your enemy has an AC of 15, and you have a +3 to your attack from your longsword, it will not show the +3, and it will dumb down the number. So it will subtract 3 from the 15, and it will show 12. You need to meet a 12, and it just rolls the d20. I very much prefer to see how massive my numbers get.
Yeah, we just finished the whole podcast with you talking about how you like rolling your own dice, damn it.
Yeah, damn it. So when it's like, I maybe have like a +7 to my attack to hit. And every time I try to hit somebody, it's like, oh, you just need to beat a 1. It's like, that's so lame. Let me see that they've got a 22 AC, and I need to roll like a 23 or 22 to meet it, and I have a +7, and I roll a number, and I just get barely close by the skin of the teeth, but it's so lame when it's all just small numbers.
Yeah.
Small gripe.
I mean, I agree, especially once you get to high levels.
It's just cool to see how you
It's fun seeing it. Like the rogue, one of our players just finished saying how with about 9 or 10 other skills, they're never going to hit underneath a 10 now.
That's insane.
Yeah.
They're constantly like, man, rogues suck. And then I'm like,
you can do almost everything.
I don't know what you're talking about. So truly, that's about everything I've experienced and all of my opinions on it. So digesting it, Ryan, after hearing all of this, being able to digest what I've mentioned so far, are you more likely to check it out, play it? Are you disappointed by what I've mentioned so far? Do you have any other expectations?
I mean, it's about what I expected, especially from early access. I'm definitely interested to see where they're going to take it. But as we've already kind of hit on, it's tough to turn D&D into a video game experience because there's so much improv that's done on the fly. There's so many things, bouncing off. It really is kind of like a team game. You're bouncing off your friends and you're bouncing off the DM. There is no DM, and if you have a friend, it's probably not as robust as it would be in the actual D&D game. So it's about what I would expect from it. I'm definitely probably going to check it out because I like my flares, and it's very centered around that.
Right off the bat, man. Right off the bat. So for this game, my biggest gripe right now, it is truly Divinity Original Sin 2.
Yeah.
But Baldur's Gate. Almost all of the icons, they're not
I feel
the
it's
same.
just like an expansion.
Truly, it does. Almost all of the art is extremely similar in the icons for items and whatnot to Divinity Original Sin 2. The buttons for menus, the user experience, the UI itself is almost identical. The way you control things is almost identical. Now, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But it really does just feel like an expansion. That's what I dislike. I want them to change it a little bit. Now, early access, maybe they haven't done stuff for it as of now, but
they might have just copied and pasted stuff over.
It feels a bit lazy to me. Now, Divinity Original Sin 2, and I keep saying that really fast, was a great game. I love it. It's one of my favorite of all time. But because it's so similar right now, it's hard for me to jump in and be excited about it.
Well, it's almost tough to justify, why would I play that when I could just go play Divinity right now?
It's different enough, and the graphic fidelity of everything it's a pretty game. Those are my thoughts on it. Okay. Nice and tied up with a bow, I suppose. So maybe. Do
you think you'd ever go back to play the older titles?
No, because I don't like ARPGs.
Okay, all right.
So just nice and easy. I also don't think I'm going to go back and play the early access. I'm going to wait. I was going to get a refund, and I probably still can, but I'm going to pay the $60 anyways for the game, so I might as well do it now.
I almost kind of wish, and of course, I do love Mind Flayers, but I almost kind of wish they did what Pathfinder has done and made a game based around a module, based around an adventure path, an adventure module. So it'd be really cool to go through one of those.
In a sense, it kind of is.
Yeah, but it's not like a published adventure.
Yeah, I suppose not. Maybe it will be one day.
It'd be cool to like run through Curse of Strahd in there or something, like a full. But then I'd probably just be upset if they change something, or I can't have a conversation with Strahd the way I would have it in an actual game, so I'd probably just get more upset.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is whether you like it or not, a video game is a very railroaded experience in the way that everything is there, everything that is there will be played out the way that they've programmed it, even if there are a bunch of branching paths. Those paths will happen that way, and there's no other permutation that can be added. Big sad.
It's always interesting to think how much D&D has come back into the forefront of people's minds, because before like 2010, there was a bunch of D&D games, and then they just kind of dropped off because people didn't care anymore. And now they're slowly coming back.
Yeah. I had a lot of friends in theater who played it, and I didn't even know what the heck it was. I was like, you dang nerds, what are you doing? And now look at me. Look what I'm doing.
I mean, 5th edition's done what 5th edition was supposed to do.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll ever make another edition, man. So we'll see.
It might take some time. I mean, Pathfinder's just only recently going to make their 2nd edition.
Oh, man. We're getting up there. So, in this podcast, for Baldur's Gate 3 at least, I'll be waiting for it to come out, or at least for the early access to be a bit more chonky, because it's not a game I want to play right now. I can't make my character the way I want to, and combat isn't satisfying to me. And those are the 2 of the 3 biggest things for this game that it needs to do right.
I'm definitely waiting. I think if you're going to buy it, make sure you realize that it's very much you're paying for a beta right now.
Yeah, and they've got it plastered everywhere, so they're not pulling any sort of sheet over your eyes. They know. Give them feedback. Let them know. Maybe send them this podcast if you think it was constructive criticism, which it really wasn't. It was just us waffling, as we do on the Dungeon Crawl itself. But there's plenty of forums out there, and they're very, very active in the community talking with us because they think this is the best way, or at least a way that works for them to design a game.
Yeah, they've already made some updates for it. So
yeah. They also said, what the hell, guys? We took an aggregate of all of the character creation choices, and it was literally a short, brown-haired human male with pale skin. Yeah. They're like, guys, we gave you horns and whatnot. Come on.
I mean, if you go to the D&D Beyond, like the most popular one is a very standard character still, a human fighter.
Well, I mean, the reason you got to think of that is because a lot of the demographic right now, and for better or for worse, are people around our age, guys, who look kind of similar to us. Now, I welcome everybody in the community. Please make it more versatile, but that's a large demographic of who has a computer and is playing this game, and they make themselves in the game too. So I'm not surprised. Have a little more imagination,
Make a mind flare. I don't care if you can't do it anyway.
Dang. That's also something I've heard is that the theme and like genre of the game doesn't seem as dark and grim. It's a little more Divinity silly.
Interesting. I feel like it should be, just considering the subject matter.
It should be, and I think if they don't alter the tone a bit, it will be a disjointed experience.
Granted, it is level very early on, so maybe it'll take a dark.
You're in the hells, crashed on a freaking mind flare ship with a thing in your brain. What is there to laugh about? I mean, maybe smile in all situations. I don't know. We'll see what goes on.
I hope there's a good mix, because my favorite D&D is where there's some comedy mixed in, but also some serious stakes going on too.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be serious stakes. Or whatever kind of steak you like.
Prime rib, maybe.
Prime rib, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe you're vegan. You can get what you want. Some tofu. So it's nice. So, a little tidbit here. We actually recorded an episode not too long ago. The one that you may have listened about ability scores. Ryan's gone on a little vacation, so I hope you enjoy us in the past.
Yeah.
So, if you're interested, talking to us about Baldur's Gate, giving me some of your opinions as well, or just keeping up to date with us, our handle on most things is at Dungeon Crawl Pod. So Instagram or Twitter if you feel like going there. And if you want to send us a write-up, talk about some fancy things with us, or give us some suggestions or maybe some business inquiries. We don't do much business now. But if you have one, you can message us at the emails, thedungeoncrawlpod@gmail.com. And again, as always, Ryan has a call to action for you guys.
Yeah, here's your call to action, you motherfuckers. Go to iTunes. Go find the Dungeon Crawl page, hit that 5-star button, leave that spicy review, Tell us how much you love the podcast, how much you hate Braxton, how much you hate Ryan. Anything. Just mention us. Do it.
Do it. And as
Do it
always,
now.
do it now. I can't come up with a trendy name. He's been Ryan.
He's been Baldur's Gate extraordinaire Braxton.
Baldur's Gate Braxton. That's me. And this is the Dungeon Crawl. Thanks for your ear holes.
Yeah, tune in next week for some horror themed stuff for Halloween.
All right. I guess we have a little bit of a break. Talk to you guys in the future.
Peace. Out.